Good morning. It is 10 a.m. on Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. Call this meeting of the Wichita County Commissioners Court to order. If everyone would please stand, Commissioner Watts will give our invocation.
Pray with me, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the many blessings you give to us each and every day, Father. We just ask that you be with us today and guide and direct us as we take care of the business for this county. Father, be with those that serve and protect us globally and in this country and in this county, Father. Protect them and keep them blessed. Father, we just thank you for all the wonderful things you do for us. It's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Please join us for the pledge to the U.S. flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now the pledge to the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, everyone may be seated. At this time, I would like to invite all of our guests up for the proclamation of Child Abuse Prevention Month. Just fill in where you can. We thought we had a crew here for our exciting commissioners. All right, I know we have a number of different entities represented here today. I'm not going to begin to try to guess what those are, so I'll just open it up to y'all. Just one person from each group that's here would just say who you're representing.
I'm Beth Maywald. I facilitate the Early Childhood Coalition of Greater Wichita County at 501 Texas 89 Way.
I'm Desiree Burnell. I'm the Permanency Director for To Engage for Wichita County.
I'm Casey Washington. I am the Volunteer Coordinator for Child Advocates.
I'm Ashley Almanza, the Director of A World for Children Foster Adoption Agency.
I'm Erica Munt, and I am the Executive Director for Campfire North Texas.
I'm Crystal Flynn, and I'm the Coordinator for the Heart Galleries of North West Texas.
All right, so we've got 6 different organizations all coming together to be here this morning. That's outstanding. So as we do with our normal proclamations, I will read the proclamation and then present it to someone. I'll let y'all fight over the official copy, and we will take a picture. But let me read the proclamation. Whereas for the year 2024, the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services confirmed 431 victims of child abuse or neglect in Wichita County. And whereas for year 2024, the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services reported to have placed 195 children in foster or other substitute care away from their original caregivers in Wichita County. And whereas adverse child experiences, ACEs, are traumatic events that occur before a child reaches the age of 18. The Centers for Disease Control reports that 61% of adults surveyed across 25 states reported they had experienced at least one type of ACE before age 18, and nearly 1 in 6 reported they had experienced 4 or more types of ACEs. And whereas we recognize that ACEs and child abuse and neglect happen often in the same homes, understanding that a parent with a high ACE score is more likely to mistreat their children or expose them to adverse experiences. And whereas future prosperity depends on nurturing the healthy development of the children currently living, growing, and learning within our community while nurturing the previous trauma of the adults in their lives. And whereas safe, nurturing relationships and stimulating, stable environments improve brain development and child well-being. And whereas individuals, businesses, schools, and faith-based and community organizations must make children a top priority and take action to support the physical, social, emotional, and educational development and competency of all children. And whereas children represent our greatest hope for the future, and as we gather as a community to uplift the voices of those at risk of or experiencing abuse and neglect, we aim to help connect these children with nurturing, safe, and stable environments so they grow up to enjoy the benefits of a healthy and productive life with supported families. Whereas the month of April is set aside to shed light on child abuse, to spark a statewide dialogue about this pressing matter, and to recognize ongoing prevention efforts. As Governor Abbott has urged all Texans to join this worthy cause and to help make justice a reality for vulnerable children, the Tacoma Child Abuse Prevention Committee, in partnership with the Early Childhood Coalition of Greater Wichita County in collaboration with their citywide partners, will be engaging individuals and communities throughout the city in a coordinated effort to reduce ACEs, increase resilience, and prevent child abuse and neglect by promoting awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the types of support families need within our communities. Now, therefore, the Wichita County Commissioners Court hereby proclaims April 2025 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in Wichita County and urges all citizens to recognize this month by renewing our dedication to children, abuse survivors, and advocates as we consider this somber subject. Throughout April and beyond, we focus on a time when all kids are thriving in the affection, security, and stability they so well deserve, and we will not stop until it comes to pass. So proclaimed this the first day of April 2025. So with that, we do always, and with 6 different organizations, we need to make sure we keep it on point. But and I know some of the folks here like to talk, and they're good at it. So I would open it up if any of y'all would like to say anything while you have the attention of Captive County.
Crystal's our
Crystal?
representative.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Court, and thank you to the whole community for everything you do year-round and supporting us in our work. We do have an event starting at 11 o'clock at CASA to kick off today. We have the Walk of Knowledge set up with a pair of shoes for every confirmed victim in this county, with also more facts and information about child abuse and how we can all work to prevent it. CASA is hosting, and they're also providing lunch for attendees. So we just invite all of y'all to come and get to know our organizations more and come out and support and see our exhibit.
And where is that and what time?
It'll be at CASA from 11 to 1 o'clock.
Okay.
CASA's on 9th Street.
8th Street.
8th and
Austin. 11 to 1.
11.
Perfect. Well, thank you all for what you and your organizations do. I had a former boss who said that the only way to address kids who are in need is for adults to step in and fix problems and care for them. So y'all are doing that. So thank you. And hopefully this proclamation will help bring some awareness to some of those statistics that are, somber is the right word. And see if we can do something and take care of our kids in Wichita County. Would anyone else like to say anything?
Appreciate it.
I think you missed a paragraph. Would you reread?
Everyone loves to listen to me read. A lot.
It's a long proclamation. I appreciate the work that all of you do. Y'all all
Amen.
do such an important job in our community, and thank you so much for all of it.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
So with that, I will give this to Crystal, and we will, I hope you have a panoramic shot. I'll do a picture here. Step forward.
Okay, you'll be
Can we
called
just
right
trade
off there.
tables with them so that I can know the pictures?
Thank y'all very much.
Maintenance agreements and staff. Now y'all have to stay here and listen to the
Yes, you have to
rest
stay
of
for the next 2 hours. Y'all have other things to do, we know. You know what I forgot?
What'd you forget? You better get your coffee. You better get your coffee.
That's terrible. He just made new coffee too.
I know.
Boy, Tony brought some the goods.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, you could have.
He did good.
I didn't get any of that either. I'm gonna leave anyway.
All right. It is currently 10:09, and at this time we will open up for public comments. Remind everyone that comments must be limited to 5 minutes or less. Commissioners Court cannot take action on any item brought up during public comments. Do we have any public comments this morning? Would you like for me to read?
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody again for coming out Friday to the opening of the 30th District Court. It was a big day for Wichita County, and since Rick wasn't there Friday, thank you again for your staff and all that they did to make that happen. Y'all don't know the amount of work that Rick and maintenance and as well as housekeeping did to make all that happen. So, Rick, thank you. Thank you, and tell all of your staff thank you as well.
we say it a lot up here, but it's one of those things that anytime something like that comes together, it's a team deal.
It is very much a team. Everyone, again, like I said Friday, out of every project I've ever been involved with anywhere, this was the one that everyone bought into 100%, saw the vision, and made something exceptional happen. That's everyone.
Yep. And you led the way, so thank you, Commissioner.
Team effort.
All right. Do we have any other public comments this morning? Okay. It is 10:11, and public comment is closed. So with that, let's move to the consent agenda. There are five items on today's consent agenda. Does anyone have any questions on any of the items in consent?
Motion to approve, Judge.
Just a quick question. Do we know how much we collected on the child safety fee last year?
I believe it's approximately $15,116.
Maybe
Yeah,
one
that $15,118.
That's the total amount.
Yep.
Total amount? Okay, that's a little less than what the projections were. Still a good amount.
Yeah, and it probably will be higher this year. I mean, it started at the middle of December of '23, and it'll trend upwards for '25.
Cool.
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Mahler, seconded by Commissioner Fincannon, to approve the consent agenda. Do we have any questions or comments on the motion or any of the items? All right, that motion's before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Item number 1 in general business is a public hearing on the readoption of the Wichita County guidelines and criteria for tax abatements and reinvestment zones. I will note for the record, it is 10:12 a.m. As we start this public hearing. Let me grab my stuff. All right, I'll just remind everyone why we are doing this and what it entails. Chapter 312 of the Texas Tax Code lays out the criteria for local governments to do tax abatement agreements and reinvestment zones. And a fundamental part before we can do those is the adoption of guidelines and criteria for Wichita County to participate in abatement agreements. Those by statute expire after the guidelines and criteria expire after 2 years. And we are in this month going to hit the 2-year mark from the last adoption. And there were some changes that needed to occur in these to streamline the language, to streamline the process, honestly, both for the county, the appraisal district, and for the businesses that choose to engage in abatements with us. And then also one item to clarify the court's expectations. I do want to make sure it's clear that what we're doing today, and I know everyone on this dais knows it, but for the public, this is for the adoption of the general guidelines and criteria that guide the Commissioner's Court when we negotiate abatement agreements. Each individual abatement agreement is negotiated on its own. This is not taking any action on a specific abatement or reinvestment zone, but the criteria that we use. Let me go through some of the changes. There weren't many. All of you should have the redlined version in your backup information, as well as the easier to read one. This changes the time frame for abatements to a period not to exceed 10 years rather than the 5 years with a 5-year renewal option that was in the original. I don't believe the court has ever done a 5-year with a 5-year renewal at any point, and so that was a clarification. It also streamlined some of the definitions for the abatement types and what taxable property can be within abatement agreements. Also added a new project category for investment projects that add at least $100 million and create at least 100 FTE jobs. Good thing we have had since the last time the court really looked at these. I don't think there were any projects that remotely got close to that level of investment before, and now we've had a couple. And so wanted to go ahead and add that project type. It also eliminates a redundant and a really difficult to work compliance report. The abatement agreements will still have compliance reporting in them. They'll still have language to allow for audits, both of the appraisal district or the county, to check to make sure they're complying. But this gets rid of a report that was a 6-page report that got way too into the weeds and wasn't helpful to anybody, and from what I've heard. And then it also eliminates a redundant sunset provision, since the tax code requires that these expire after 2 years. These were sent to both Lisa Stevens Music and Melvin for their input. I didn't hear back any issues from either of them. And in fact, this incorporates a lot of Lisa's feedback as we worked through some of the agreements over the last couple of years. And since the appraisal district has to be the ones who implement these things, their feedback obviously matters a ton. So with that, I will open up for questions, comments from commissioners, and then we will open up for public hearing.
Judge, I had a few
Okay.
questions. On page 3 of 20, it sets out these eligible properties, but what about just the property that is coming to be? For example, I'm gonna build a manufacturing plant, and I didn't notice that in those listings on 3. I either had an existing facility, had leased facilities, jobs creation. I didn't know if that needed to be.
So let's see. Let me find, I'm looking at the red line. Let me look at what it looks like in the main version. I think that's covered in number 4, Commissioner.
It says new construction.
Yeah, abatements may be granted for new construction, additions, and/or improvements to existing real
I'm missing
property.
4.
On 4.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was going too far ahead.
Yeah.
Uh,
And in these in the past, Commissioner, there has been a lot of reuse of existing structures and things that we went in and repurposed, so, but it does say new construction would be eligible too.
Yep.
Okay, and then on page 4, so the threshold is $1 million.
Yes. For a project has to hit a minimum investment threshold of $1 million before it.
That's on the tax roll for $1 million, at least $1 million.
New investment, yes.
Okay.
And that's not much now.
Not much now, but not as much as it used to be.
Okay, and then on page 9, the last one I had was, it says non-compete agreements.
Mhm.
In the event applicant has contacted any member of the governing body of more than one municipality located in whole or in part within Wichita County, Texas, for a purpose of obtaining a tax abatement, said applicant may become ineligible for a tax abatement.
We do not want, the reason that language, again, that's original language that was already in there, but we don't want to have businesses having municipalities within the county all squaring off against each other for economic development.
Oh, you mean multiple municipalities?
Yeah, so a company comes in and talks to Iowa Park and Electra and Burke and Wichita Falls to see what the best deal is they can get. This would allow us the opportunity to then say, you're ineligible, to try to keep that from happening.
How does 4A and 4B sales tax play into that?
I think that it would apply that if they talk to 4A and 4B and then try to square that off against another municipality in the county, they may become ineligible.
But they can, if it was, say, an entity within the jurisdiction, get an abatement from Iowa Park and from Wichita County.
Yeah, that's, as long as those are for 2 different projects,
Okay.
yes. We just don't want them,
They
we don't
can't,
want
they
them
can't
squaring.
location shop
Right,
within the
within
county.
the county.
Right, okay.
Is this language sufficient, because reading it here, in the event applicant has contacted any member of the governing body of more than one municipality located on and on? Contacted, though, might be having a casual conversation with somebody about, hey, here's what we're thinking about.
How does your abatement work?
Yeah.
That,
Isn't that a little,
well, and that's why these are the guidelines.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this court is still, the way that's written is that it may become ineligible. If it's an honest, just trying to do
Yeah, just-
information gathering, the court can take that into account and make a decision.
and I don't disagree with the fact that we don't want to get into a bidding war, but that, I thought that was a little strong, just to have a because, golly, sometimes you need to discuss possibilities just casually, you know, with somebody, and it may not matter. And as long as we've got discretion in it, it probably wouldn't, but that seemed a little.
And Barry, I think that, I mean, if this were gonna be litigated, for the purpose of obtaining a tax abatement, it's probably doing a lot of work there too. Someone is coming and asking questions and doing information,
Yeah.
fact finding,
Okay.
I think the next.
This is all public information anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Good point. Okay, I just
But no, those are good questions.
checking the wording there.
Yeah. Any other questions or, on the guidelines? Okay, I'll open it up to members of the public who have, either wish to make any comment for or against or on the proposed guidelines. Okay. One final chance. Okay, then it is 10:22, and we will conclude the public hearing. That moves us to item 2, which is discuss, consider, and/or take action to authorize the county judge to sign a resolution to re-adopt the Wichita County guidelines and criteria for tax abatements in reinvestment zones.
so moved.
Second.
That was identical. We'll go with Barry. Got a motion by Commissioner Beecham, seconded by Commissioner Mahler, to authorize the county judge to sign the resolution to re-adopt the Wichita County guidelines and criteria for tax abatements.
We did not, just one further deal. You know, we had talked earlier about one of the problems we would have with some of these TIF zones in the past is when we got into splitting real estate, and I didn't see that in there, but that may be more a technical deal that wouldn't fall under the original. I mean, is that considered? I didn't find it in there, but you know what I'm talking about. You know, we got into some problems where we split some properties in one of these things, and it became a nightmare for the taxing entities to try to sort that out. And I wonder if that should be, so I guess basically what we did was encouraged not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've got the authority to say we can't do that if that's the way it fell, but I remember that was a bad deal when we got to trying to split that stuff out and it changed hands. I don't know, I didn't know if that needed to be noted, but I know we're a long ways down the road here.
Well, what we may do, then statute gives us the ability to modify these at any
Right.
time. We just have to go through the
Okay.
public hearing and process. If that's something that Commissioner Mahler, you want to see in there, or any member wants to, we can.
It's more in the mechanics of
Yeah.
the deal than this is kind of, I see this as kind of the overlying direction, but we really need to consider that because I remember that was not a good, and it would be so much simpler just to do it right going in.
Yeah.
Which is usually the case. So anyway, just wanted to make note of that.
That's good. All right, yeah, I got a motion by Commissioner Beecham, seconded by Commissioner Mahler. Do we have any questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right, that motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Thank y'all. Item number 3, review and approve the regular bills for payment. Verify payroll taxes have been filed. Order County Treasurer to disperse payroll and/or bills within 72 hours via U.S. mail, FedEx, UPS, or electronically unless directed otherwise, or may be picked up and ledgered in the Treasurer's office. Do we have any questions or comments on the item? Okay. Do we have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Mahler, seconded by Commissioner Watts to approve, verify, and disperse. Do you have any questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right, that motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
One abstention.
Oh, and one abstention, okay. Thank you. We have 4 ayes, 0 nays, and 1 abstention by Commissioner Fincannon. The motion carries. Item number 4, discuss, consider, and/or take action to approve and ratify the minutes of the March 25, 2025 regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Beecham, seconded by Commissioner Pincannon to approve and ratify the minutes. Now, any questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right, that motion is before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 5, receive Treasury Report update for the year ending 12/31/2024 and 2025 through to 2/28/2025. Mr. Jones.
Good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I usually have the paper reports printed out for you guys, and I usually print them the morning of. My printer would not work this morning, so I emailed you guys all the copies of it this morning at 9:30ish.
Let me pause while I go grab mine.
Sorry. Should be 3 reports there, and the first one we're gonna talk about is the December 12/31/24 Treasury Report. While y'all are doing that, wanted to explain why I haven't been in here in a while. I had an interesting 2025 so far, where I made the decision that I was gonna get healthy, and so immediately got sick.
That'll teach you.
Yeah. I had what they called an extreme hypertensive event that had me on bed rest for a week in January, and then came back and was good for about a week and a half, and then got pneumonia, severe pneumonia and an infection, and somehow a broken wrist on top of that, and had me out for another 2 weeks.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Right? Yeah. So that's what I get for trying to be healthy. So.
So what have we learned?
Yeah.
Donuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
No good deed and all that. So I'm a little bit behind on presenting reports. What I will say is that while I was out for a lot of January and February, Cameron in my office did an amazing job of keeping up with everything. Mike and Matt and everybody in their office did an amazing job helping me and my office stay on top of things, even though I was not very much help to anyone during that time. So I appreciate that from all of you guys. We've got some good people that are out there to help us. So I was very grateful for that. So jumping into December 2024, the Treasury Report. So most of this is through the year, just to give us our position for where we were at the end of 24. American National, the only real interesting thing on here is that the LEC bond project is down to 0. I think it was October, November. We spent the last few pennies that were in there, and that account has been closed out now. So all the money that we borrowed to pay for the LEC has been spent.
Now we just pay it back.
Yep, now we just got to pay it back or our grandkids can finish paying it back or whatever. Everything else is right on track. Our interest rates are still really good. And just in our American National accounts for December, we made over $30,000 in interest. Page 3, we've got the investment pools for Tex Pool and Texas Class. And looking at these numbers, a lot of them look kind of sad and depressing, but compare those, hold on to those and compare them to here in a minute when I show you February, because this is what we had on hand before the tax income started coming in. So our interest was down to $143,000, which is kind of nice to be able to say it's down to $143,000 because that's still a big chunk. But it had been up to over $300 at one point. And the only reason it's down is because our principal in those accounts is down. The interest rates are still really good. 12/31, the interest rates were still at 4.6. So still pretty good for on all that. But our total amounts that we had, in Gen, we had just over $9 million between Texas Class and Tex Pool, which is a little bit scary when we send out $3 million a month in just payroll. So I was starting to get nervous, but that's okay because we started getting more money coming in. So just thinking about those numbers being fairly low. And between the two of them, the total was around $36 million between the two, Texas Class and Tex Pool total. Looking at our total cash balance, again, it looks really, really low. December of '24, we were down to 46 million total between all of our American National, all of our investment pools. So that liquid cash was down to pretty much the lowest. In November, we were down, October, we were down to 41 million. What I noticed looking at these is I was expecting it to be a little less, to be honest, because our ARPA amount that we've spent over the last 2 years is more than that. There is more than the difference between our lowest amounts in 23 and 24. So our lowest amount in 23 was 44.5 million. Our lowest amount in 24 was 41.5. So we've spent more than 3 million in ARPA over the year. But our balance hasn't gone down much more than that. So we're doing pretty well as far as our income, a little bit more even than before. So it looks sad. It looks scary because of that amount. And when I'm moving money for bills and stuff, it scares me a little bit because I'm on the conservative side of all that. But it's not nearly that bad when you compare it to previous years.
And we can always go to Road and Bridge 3 for a loan if we need
Right,
to.
yeah.
10%.
Yeah. Page number 5 is my favorite because it shows the interest that we earned total in 2024 between our American National accounts, Tex Pool, and Texas Class. And it shows it broken down by our different major funds. But the total amount that we earned in interest from those three was $2,986,799. If we add in what we earned from our long-term investments, I think Mike told me 3.4 million, which is the second highest revenue source for the county in 2024. So I was pretty excited about that. I don't know that we've ever had even close to that amount in interest before, have we? So that's pretty exciting. We're just by keeping track of where the money is and making sure it's in the right accounts, we've done a good job. And it's exciting to see that money coming in. And the long-term debt is the last page on there, and as we've been saying all year, we finally paid off the TCCU loan, so that's going to drop off. The only thing we have left is our LEC bond to pay off. So we can see the balances left on that we have to pay, and we've already paid the first payment in 2025 in March. So we got one payment again in September, and then we'll be done for the year again. So.
That interest income, 2 or 3 years ago, was at least $1 million less than that, I believe. Mm-hmm. Matt, do you remember it got?
Yeah, it was way down.
It was probably a lot less than that. It was probably less than $1 million.
Yeah.
Because most of that comes from the investment pools, and they were maybe earning 1%. So.
We have two things going on. One, obviously, is we're earning much better interest.
Yes.
But the second is a little bit more active management and trying to keep the money, as much money as we can in those.
I like to think so, because that makes me look good. But yeah, the interest rate is by far the more important thing. And again, yeah, like you said, keeping the balance as high where the interest is earning is doing it for us. So
we have a plan and we're following it now. That's the difference.
Any word in the trade? I know you talk to a lot of people. Are we going to set on this steady level for a while, or there doesn't seem to be a lot of activity right now?
I think everybody's scared to do anything big right now.
You have your crystal ball.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if there's any. I don't hear anything.
There's lots and lots of discussion, and everybody ends up scratching their head at the end of it. Because I think between the just not really knowing what's going to come next on the national level, the Fed doesn't really want to do too much because they're scared to make the wrong decision, and so things are kind of holding steady at the moment, which is good for us because we can continue to make hay. But it also just leads to I don't know what's going to happen. So.
We're in unprecedented times. So
the
money markets are not following normal trends right now. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I keep trying to explain to my daughters, economics is based on what's happened in history, and this has not happened in history. So it's hard to make a projection when what's going on has never happened before. So.
Well, let us know before something major happens.
Yeah, I'll ask Pelosi. She seems to know.
Just be sure to tip us off now.
It's it's interesting. It's just gotta keep checking the numbers every day and see where we are, but trying to make a long-term plan, and we'll hit that more in the investment side, but we talked about the other day, the interest rates in tax pool and Texas class, there's no good reason to put it into something long-term when we're continuing to make the same rates there. And there's no long-term, I mean, the amount we would make long-term isn't really that big of a difference as far as what we can tell, so. We're trying to make our best decisions based on what information we have.
Yeah.
And I didn't stay at the Holiday Inn Express last night, so I'm not as much of a professional as I could be on that, but I try. I think we all try, so. So that's 2024. So any questions on where we were then?
No. February 1.
Okay, so in February, 2/28, and I realize today is 4/1, so we'll have the March one pretty soon. I just don't have any interest numbers or any of that stuff in yet, since it all just hit last night. But our interest, you can see, went up in February. It went up $28,000 between January or December report and this report, just because we've got higher balances now. One of the things that happened while I was out is I didn't move stuff over to Texas class or Tex pool because I wasn't there, but we were able to keep it moved into the money market. So we were getting the same interest as the pools. We were just getting it from American National instead, which they're glad that it's now been moved so that American National doesn't have to pay it.
So, looking at the cash balance, we're at pretty equal cash balance previous years, even though we've spent all the ARPA.
Yeah.
That's encouraging.
Yeah, it's encouraging. I was expecting it to be a lot more. I know that in our long-term stuff, we did have a couple things that came mature in third quarter that we kept into our cash because we were so low on cash at the time. That'll probably move into something long-term as soon as that becomes a really good idea. So I think that's roughly $2 million came into our bank account from the long-term investments because we were worried about cash flow at the time.
I mean, we're right between our two highest years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, our income and you're looking on page 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, our income is right there. It's actually great. It's between the last two, and that's probably our highest amount. I know March we didn't bring in nearly as much as we did in February, so it may go up a little bit more. It may be about the same. I don't have those numbers yet. But our curve is looking great. 23 and 24, the curves are almost identical. 25 looks like it's going to be right on the same amounts there. I know we're going to spend a lot more with the ARPA stuff, so it'll go down a little bit, but it's not going to be. I think we've only got $7 million left in ARPA, so 25.
It won't be unexpected.
Yeah, it's not unexpected. 25 and 26 that'll go away, but it's not going to be something that is us losing money. It's us spending what the government gave us to do.
About 5.5 of that is going to the actual ARPA expenditures, and then your remaining is $2 million is interest.
Mm-hmm. And we'll wait until they decide whether or not they're gonna.
Yeah, once we have the all clear, then we can move that to the general.
Mm-hmm.
We're at about 5.5 left of ARPA money to spend.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What else? Total interest earned, we're at $442,000 between January and February, which is still a pretty good number. I'd be happy if I could earn that. So, and those are going to just go up because they're fairly low in January and February because we hadn't been collecting on all of our high principals yet. Now that the high principal's in there, the interest is going to go up for the next few months, and then it'll start to taper as we spend down. So the curve is going to look exactly the same as it did the previous year. We're just a little behind it, I think.
I think if you're a member of the public and you hear this, the thing to take away is we're in great financial shape.
I think we're pretty good. Yeah, I don't think that we're missing many opportunities as far as what I can do to bring in stuff and to keep things growing what we want it to. It's up to you guys to spend it. The long-term debt, page 6 is almost the exact same, except TCCU fell off because it's gone. And then as it was pointed out to me, I put 2024 on there instead of 2025, so I'll have to change that in the file. But we've already paid, and I put this on here even though at the time it was 228, hadn't been paid yet. The 315, we paid the first payment on the LAC bond. And we have more than enough already in our debt service accounts to pay for the next one.
Yeah, I know that's always a question
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at.
Yeah, we're good for the payment, then it won't be till September, and we've got a handling fee, I guess you'd call it, that they charge, but it's around $900, so.
Mhm.
But if not another dollar came in tax collections,
We would be good through, yeah, I'm pretty sure we're good for the March payment also,
Mhm.
so.
16 more million till we pay off our interest.
Yeah.
We're paying the principal, so.
Yeah, it's I have the full chart on there of what's principal and what's interest in my office, and it's, banks earn their money. So, but that's pretty much all there is for the treasury reports to get us caught up through 228.
Any questions?
Things are a lot easier to maneuver when you don't have huge debt hanging over your head. It changes the whole scenario, whether that's personal or business or whatever. It's amazing what a difference it makes.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I'm beginning to sound like Dave Ramsey. I know. He's right. He's absolutely right.
Yeah, flexibility.
And I do think that the transferring the fee office funds more regularly is assisting with that. For instance, today I'm going to bring over some checks for Stephen that's going to bring $211,400 to the general operating, and then about $10,000 to each of the road and bridge, and some into our law libraries. So
Excellent. All right. All right, we will conclude item number 5 and move to item number 6, which is receive investment report update, including activities for year ending 12/31/2024 and 2025 through February 28, 2025, as well as planned activities for future months. Mr. Jones?
Okay, so that also, file should also be on the same email I sent for you all.
Yep.
12/31.
Looks like it's just the 12/31 one, though. We don't have an investment
Yeah,
report
because
for
the quarter actually
Yeah.
ended last night. So
Gotcha.
the first quarter didn't end until last night, so I don't have the accrued interest reports or anything from our from Hilltop. So as soon as I get that, I'll be able to put together the first quarter one. But
Yeah.
we can look at what we have done and what we are planning, what's already happened this quarter so far, so. And again, this report requires certain things from our investment policy. There's stuff in here that is required that makes the report itself more difficult to read, so I apologize for that. But we're gonna work through it pretty quickly and easily. It's not a whole lot happened in fourth quarter. But the first page, page 2, we've got the position count that we're in, which basically shows how much, or what we own, how much of it is, and then what the market value of it is. The market value just is what we could earn if we sold it all immediately, which is less than what we'll earn if we hold it to maturity. So a vast majority of what we have, we're holding to maturity. Well, pretty much all of it, we're planning on holding to maturity because it's currently worth less than we could get if we hold it. So the column on the right is a lot lower. It's $880,000 less, because if we sold it right now, we would lose $880,000, which is why we're going to hold it till we can get the full value. So most of what we have is still in agency bonds, by about twice as much. We've got, if we look at page 3, is the by sector, so it shows in the pie chart. We've got 9.25 in CDs. Almost all of that is with First National. We've got one for $250,000. That's with TCCU that comes mature this quarter. We've been waiting on for 2 years. Then the agency bonds are all through Cetera, and we've been working. The committee is pretty much unanimous that we want to move away from Cetera because they charge us a fee for everything that has been bought through them. And we have a investment company that we work with and we pay that doesn't charge a fee. So we're looking more to go through them if we're gonna go buy into agency bonds and stuff. Most of what we've done in the last 2 years has all been in CDs because we've been able to get better rates and better long-term rates on it than we could find through anything else. So that's the direction we've kind of been going. As far as diversity, it is the CDs at 9 million, the agency bonds at 18 million. And then the investment pools also count towards our investments, and that's, was it about 60 million now? Accrued interest. This is the main reason why we're trying to move away from some of those agency bonds. Most of them, I think the oldest ones were bought in 2020. And the lowest interest rate, I forget, is pretty sad to look at. But on page 4, if you look, the CDs just from First National earn accrued interest of $249,000 over the quarter, whereas the agency bonds accrued about $74,000 over the quarter. And again, we've got twice as much money in agency bonds. So moving away from those and into the CDs and stuff that we can get now for a higher interest is what we're is the obvious choice for us to do.
Yeah.
So. Portfolio by maturity, you can see what's coming mature every year. We've already had 2 that came mature this year in 2025. One of those, the $1 million First National Bank CD, we rolled into another 12-month for the same interest rate. So we're getting good service on that one. And then the agency bond we pulled out of Cetera and just put it into cash.
Well, the important thing to note here is the weighted average maturity.
Yes.
When we first started the committee and everything, we were so over our weighted average maturity guideline.
I think the policy is 24 months.
Yes.
Yeah. Except 2 years, I think. And
yes, 2 years.
I think when my first month on the job, it was 3.8 or something.
Yeah, we had a
4.2
lot of
when we
5+
started.
year investments that aren't paying, and you can still see this one
Mhm.
$4 million investment that's
Yeah.
hung out.
And then, yeah, overall, we're down to 1.3 on our weighted average maturity, which is 15 months, I think. Which, given the volatility of the interest rates and everything right now, I think that's a pretty smart position to be in.
That liquidity is the number 2 thing that we have to look for is liquidity of our assets. So tying them up for 5 or 6 years is
Yeah, it just
not
makes
good
no
policy.
sense. It's not our money to do that with.
Yeah.
It needs to be here to pay our bills if we need it, so.
And the other thing with the WAM is with all of a lot of our cash tied up in pools, that does not affect the WAM.
Correct.
That's outside of, we're actually invested in the pools
Mhm.
at a pretty high interest rate that does not go to our WAM. If that was considered, it would be even lower. Be
Yeah,
almost-
because there's no
Yeah, there's no
long-term maturity
Yeah,
to
it's-
the
you
to the
can
investment.
pull it out the
bonds.
next day.
Mhm.
So
We could actually do it by wire within an hour or 2 if we needed to.
Yeah.
So
The hard questions will be when the pool interest rates start coming back
Yeah.
down to earth in a more substantial fashion.
yeah,
Mhm. But I mean, 4.5 or 4 or so is it seems amazing to us now, but it's kind of average over the past 50 years. It's just that decade we had at 0 that
That's fair.
kind of scared us into not wanting to do that. But again, it comes back to making hay when the sun shines. We're just trying to keep it where it's doing its best for us.
but we are laddered out correctly with our long-term investments.
Yeah, we're right along with our policy, which is great compared to 2 years ago. So,
Yeah, we were all over the place.
yeah, it took a lot of work by everybody to get there, so. Other than that, there's really not that much interesting in here, other than we still have the 2.7 invested of self-insurance money, but doesn't mature until 26, so that's just kind of going to stay there, because we don't want to lose the money on that, and then kind of stay the course. The policy requires the text pool and Texas class information be in here. We already went over that in the Treasury report, but it's in here as well, so.
Stephen, it's not listed here, the self-insurance investments.
Mhm.
I see those all mature next year. When were those initially started, do you know?
Let's see. They were 2021, I think.
Yeah, you're right, there it is in the, yeah. July of 2021 and October of 2021.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, 5 years.
And same with the ones in 2020, maturing in 2027. One was created in June of 2021, before we had required people to authorize the purchase of investments. And then those ones in 2022 were about at the same time. And those were done at 5 years.
Mm.
So 2027 will free up a lot of money.
Yeah. We continue to work. I know Mike keeps a spreadsheet where he keeps track of, okay, what's it worth now? Would it hurt us? How much would it hurt us to take it out? Can we earn as much back if we put it in something higher interest rates? And at the moment now, pulling it out and taking the hit on those still isn't going to make us any money. So,
We did several investments like that. In order to lower our WAM, we sold them off, lost money on them, but reinvested them to make the money back plus additional.
Because the interest we can make now makes up the difference.
Right. More than makes up the difference.
And yeah, it just depends on how long term it is. So.
But all the low-hanging fruit has been picked.
Yeah. We've gone through that over the last 2 years to get rid of all the bad investments. So.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work by everybody on the committee this past 2 years that I've been here.
That teamwork word again.
Yeah, and I'm never going to be opposed to asking somebody for their input on stuff, because there's the more smart people that are involved in the idea, then the better. So I think we're all amateurs by ourselves, but together we get close to a professional. So I think we're doing pretty well right now. So
it's just nice to put multiple sets of eyes on it.
As always.
So that's all I have for that. Is there any questions on that?
Any questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank
Let's
you.
hope that the rest of the 9 months are an easier trip on your health.
That'd be nice.
All right, that moves us to item number 7, discuss, consider, and/or take action to approve a quote from Josh Morgan for $9,250 for the construction of walls and curbing to enclose the equipment building for Road and Bridge Precinct 4 to be paid from Department 224 with lines determined by the county auditor. Commissioner Watts?
Yes, that's, we don't currently have an equipment shed that's fully protected from the weather. Everything we've got is opened on the sides. We're going to close in one so that we can put smaller equipment in there and keep it out of the weather. And that was the quote. We wanted to put a stem wall around the bottom and then build off of it and come up on the sides to keep the weather out. So right now it's just a problem because we have the shop's full and we don't have any good coverage out in the yard. So that's what this was.
What size building is that?
It's 100, maybe it's 100 by 30.
It's that long shed, isn't it? Purple?
Yeah.
It's pretty good size.
Yeah. That much work, that's
Pretty
pretty
good
good price.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So that's gonna do,
It won't cover the front.
Won't have the doors. That
Yeah.
was my question,
Yeah.
because if you were gonna do doors, it'd be quite a bit more than
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, that makes sense. And it protects it from the west and
Right.
north, which are the two key deals.
Yeah.
And, so that'll help.
How tall are the stem walls?
Mark, the low side would be, the stem wall itself.
Yeah.
Well, it varies because it's on sloped ground.
Yeah.
It goes from anywhere from a foot to up to nearly 2.5 foot.
Wow, that is a good deal.
Yeah.
Enough to keep you from driving a lawnmower through the back wall.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good bid. Sounds like it.
All right, got a motion by Commissioner Beecham, seconded by Commissioner Fincannon to approve the Josh Morgan quote for $9,250 to be paid from Department 224. Do we have any questions or comments on the motion or the item? That motion's before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 8, discuss, consider, and/or take action to hire an employee to oversee and manage county surplus equipment and property. And I apologize, I don't remember who put this one on, so
Well,
I'm not sure who to.
I have some info on that. I talked to Daryl Schote yesterday. Everybody knows Daryl as when he was with us for such a long period of time, and then he helps his brother now auctioneer equipment. He is certainly interested in to help us on short-term interim deals when we wanted to sell something, put it together, or field those calls for us, put it together in the shape. Some things might need to go on Renee Bates. Some things we might could sell here ourselves. He's got the experience to do it either way we needed to do it. He's only interested if it was a part-time, short-term thing each time.
Okay, that was like not all of it done within 3 months, but just projects here and there.
Yeah. He says he stays busy with helping his brother, and he's interested in continuing doing that. He just don't mind to help us coordinate sales if we needed to, put those in to whatever form they need to be in to get sold. So
we talking about hiring by project or
by
hiring?
project, I think, and we didn't discuss that, Mark. He was open to whatever we wanted to do. It would just be on a per project basis. I don't see us having anything real big. I know, Will, that Purple Wave told me they were getting with y'all today. They were photographing a bunch of stuff there, and so it wouldn't entail a lot. It's just mostly the broken tables and chairs and those kind of things that we could put together periodically to have some form of small auction.
The whole Sprague building. Lindeman's not, there's some stuff up there.
Up on third floor.
Not like Sprague.
An employee to dispose of that kind of property, though, is he gonna make more than the property's worth? I mean,
Still need to get rid of it.
Usually the auction sites will work with you on that.
I think the deal is that we've got to do it in a certain way to be able to get rid of it.
Yeah. I think our problem is we haven't quite gotten to that step of actually getting them to the auction to this point.
You know, like when it comes to our stuff and somebody calls or fielding those calls, it's not too bad on me. I generally have an ideal, but when it would come to stuff that would be put together, if we had to go online and do any of it, fielding those would be, you know, you'd have to get it heavily involved to understand what's what. Daryl would coordinate it, put it together, and sell it, hopefully, and
Matt,
some
you have
sizes
to kind of take it off the inventory, do you not? Isn't that part of the procedure?
If it's a capital asset, yes.
Yeah, that's what you get into, is
And I'm just-
making sure.
I just maybe don't quite understand how he would work. I mean, is he just gonna, if he handled 6 hours worth of business this week, he sends us a bill for 6 hours?
Well,
or
I
is he
haven't.
gonna work?
Well, we didn't go there yet,
Yeah.
so I think that would be up to us how we wanted to do it. Maybe give him a percentage of it.
That's kind of what I was thinking, is maybe a 1099 vendor for accounts payable, and he would just bill us however much, you know.
That's certain. Oh, go ahead.
Can I point out also, though, in terms of compensation, you have to kind of worry about, is this a contractor, is he an employee? If he's a contractor, how much money is he gonna get paid overall? Because if you get that $50,000, you have an unbid contract essentially.
Right.
So you run it, that's a big picture problem that I don't know that will be a problem, but I just wanna throw that out there to think about. I don't know how much he would be, I don't know how much it would, ultimately be, but you could run afoul of the bidding requirements for just contracts for contractors, so to speak. I don't know
But
that.
couldn't we, Melvin, if we saw that we were crowding up past 40, couldn't then we go out to bid for somebody to do that if we saw that it was going to be an
Yeah, as long
issue?
as you don't go past it, that's all I'm saying. As long as
Okay.
you just have somebody that's something that has to be thought about in terms of how far are you gonna get, and then you
Right.
have to think, what do we do now? Is it, and again, I wanna, if you're dealing with a person, you wanna make sure he's not getting the rug pulled out from under him, and
Sure.
that everybody knows what's going on, with it.
Well, I would think that a lot of our stuff could be done with just a small Saturday sale of some sort that we'd auction off and that they are very, they're experts at. The ones that would be Renee Bate items, where there's individual pictures made of everything or the individual lots made, you know, that's kind of tedious in itself, but something he's used a lot of when he was here with us, using an online site like Renee Bates to sell broken equipment, tables, chairs, old computers, that kind of stuff. And I guess, Will, y'all sold cars there before in the past too?
Yeah, in the past, we sold through Renee Bates, but I think the Purple Wave was pretty well evened it out.
Yeah.
Prices.
Maybe on what you just said, kind of, are we looking at hiring Daryl to do work for the county and then turn around and let Daryl and Chuck auctions run the auction too?
I would think so. I think if they'd say, if Daryl put us some pallets together out there with a bunch of equipment on it, it's actually a different entity. It'd be his brother. He just works for his brother, but.
Why don't we just contract with Choate Auctions to come in and palletize everything and get it ready then?
Yeah, on those, we could do that. It's just, I guess it depends on, those would probably work just fine for those type of sales and the compensation for those type of sales. It's just if we needed to do anything different, like.
Because you're envisioning not just those, but
Other
someone to come in
things.
to put the stuff together for Purple Wave or for
Yeah.
another entity.
If Choate did it, they're real good about fielding the calls for all the inquiries.
Yeah, there's a lot of calls when it starts with.
There is a lot of calls, and that's what will kind of miff you, is that there's just a lot of silly questions out there that you've got to be able to field. And a lot of times, you know, if somebody wanted to know about that lot number, it's that pallet that's got that big blue thing on it. You're like, what in the world?
So when we do a pallet with one of the other auction services, are they the ones fielding those calls?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, on Purple Wave, we field the calls for equipment, typically.
Well, we
And there is.
we haven't done a lot of that little stuff, have we?
No, but and they'll surprise you at how many equipment, especially as it gets close to the sale, people will want to know details, specific, if they can't get it answered on the video itself. And so that comes along, and that's what I envisioned on some of Daryl's work, is that he just be able to, they coordinated that, which they would, like Mark said, if they handled the sale and did it that way, they would handle all of that. And they'd handle those calls on that as well.
We used to have an auction about whatever other year
Mhm.
and sell a bunch of our precinct stuff. Everybody bring it together, and I think it got to be more worth than what the income, more work
Yeah.
than what the income was.
Mhm.
It's,
Well, we've realized that now we can go out online and get a larger audience and
Yeah.
find people that are.
Well, the online deal has changed the auction deal.
It sure has.
It's night and
But
day.
we've got a bunch of stuff that no one wants to buy, that we are required to surplus, and.
Yeah, some of
we
this
don't
is just
even-
the necessary step to getting us where we can get rid of a bunch of
Yeah, the old computer components as well as broken office chairs or.
We have palletized about 25 pallets of just filing cabinets, and they're supposed to get with you to get your filing cabinets. And that's just the dent of stuff that's back there behind the yard.
Right.
Oh, that could be a month-long project, just putting stuff on pallets.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this may be wrong to throw this out there. It seems like almost the best way to do this would be, rather than to establish necessarily the 1099 relationship or a hired employee. Would just be to have the project and then go out and get for each project and to have a quote of, we're gonna do third floor.
Here's the
window
task,
and-
here's the task
Yeah.
at hand.
But rather than, I'm just trying to keep track of hours and pay that way,
yeah.
and just have him quote what he thinks. It's fair to, be fair to him, be fair to us. I wonder if that would be,
Oh, I think he'd be open to whichever way we wanted to do it. He's not gonna be, I think he felt like he's got, the time to, pull off, you know, it's not like he's there 24/7 tied up.
Well, do we need to discuss it further and then, I don't know that we.
Well, I think we find the
Yeah.
project and then.
yeah, find a project and do
Yeah.
that.
Sprague.
Spray. Currently, we have probably 20-plus county vehicles to be auctioned, and I think around 15 or 18 seized vehicles.
And that'll give us a lot more space once you get those, once we get those shipped, and they're fixing to come up, towards the end of April on Purple Wave.
So all those vehicles are hitting Purple Wave?
Pretty much, I don't know.
That's my understanding, yes. Lieutenant Wilson's been handling it, but
Yeah.
he's got all his other duties he's doing as well, on top of trying to get his vehicles ready.
That's good.
Hire an auctioneer to do Sprague and bring everything there,
Yeah.
get it all done.
Does Choate offer in person and online at the same time?
You know, I don't know that they do online, Mick. I'm not 100% about
Do
that.
any of our other local auctioneers?
Mickey does.
I thought Mickey
He does.
did
He
online
just,
and.
Saturday, they selling it online.
I mean, either way, I think we ought to have the ability to online it. If we're gonna do it in
Yeah.
person, we need to online it at the same time.
Oh, it changes everything. There's not any bargains anymore without they went to the online deal. But, it really did change the scope of that deal. So that's something to think about. I don't know if Choate's doing that or not.
I just don't know. I'd have to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah, no action today, but let's
No.
take a project
Okay.
and get it up, put it on the agenda and talk it through. Okay. Anything else on this item? Don't want to cut off discussion or
No.
debate, but. Okay. All right, no action taken on item number 8. Item number 9, discuss, consider, and or take action to approve and accept total loss offer from TAC for a sheriff's office vehicle as follows. 2014 Chevy Tahoe, the VIN listed, actual cash value $8,965.35, less deductible $5,000, for the offer of $3965.37, or same Tahoe, same cash value, salvage value $883 minus a $5,000 deductible for an offer of $3,082.37.
Really only one question, do we need the salvage?
No, take option A.
Then we need, I make a motion, we take option A.
Second.
But I mean, you know, all joking aside, if we needed something off that
Sure.
car, that 883
Sure.
would be a bargain. but
Sure it would, but
We don't
those cars
need it.
are trying to get rid of them all.
It's getting,
Yeah.
yeah, it's getting too old.
That's a 14, so I'm sure it's a 200,000 mile deal, probably, or close, yeah.
All right, we got a motion by Commissioner Muller, seconded by Commissioner Watts to approve the first offer, which is for the actual cash value of $8965.37, minus deductible $5,000 for the offer of $3965.37. Motion's before us. Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions or comments on the motion or the item? All right, that motion's before us. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 5-0. Item number 10, discuss, consider, and or take action to reassign Road and Bridge Precinct 5 vehicles, equipment. Commissioner Beecham, Commissioner Watts, turn this over to yours.
Yeah, I asked that this be put on because we had discussed our haul trucks in particular, that we would divide those amongst the 4 precincts. We did get a new one in that my precinct took delivery of, and I didn't know how to tag it, so I think we went ahead and tagged it precinct 5, so.
Buried theirs. Here is, yeah, and Mark, I took that one back to Leon. I think he's got it fixed now.
Oh, so
That goes
this
to
is my
Mark.
stuff, this is Mark's pile.
And this is Mickey.
You Mickey, you're a big one.
You can kind of see on this spreadsheet how we had divvied those out. And we allotted a $210,000 credit to each precinct just based on internal values. And then we pulled, Matt, do you have?
No, sir. I was kind of wondering if we're going to pop it up on the TV.
Here, you can take this one. I've got one in my folder.
Thanks, Judge.
So Barry is flush up. We owe Mark $1,100, but me and Mickey would have the lion's share
No,
of that.
I'm not getting a dump truck and you only owe me
You what?
$1,100. I'm only getting a dump truck out of the deal, not getting a dump truck out of the deal, and I'm only owed $1,100. And y'all get a new dump, you get a dump truck?
Well, yeah, the difference, well, the difference being is it's
No.
a new road truck. You can take an old road truck and get a lot more money
We were
back.
going to draw for these, that's what we'd all
Well,
discussed.
they did.
Who did?
The foreman did.
No.
Yeah, they
No,
did.
they didn't. Leon called me, why am I getting a new truck? We haven't drawn for them.
Well, I put Jack on the mission to do that very thing.
Well, Leon wasn't invited.
Well,
No,
what do you
here I'm
want
getting-
different, Mark, on
I'm
precinct
getting- I'm
one? Tell
getting-
me what the better scenario there would be. You want an old dump, you want an old road tractor? A
Draw for the
2021?
road tractors.
Do what?
But
I can't hear you.
I'm getting $1,100 and y'all are getting dump trucks.
I'm paying
Well, they're paying-
$97,500.
I'm paying $200,000.
I have paid 1/4 for each of those 3 dump trucks, and I should get a fair market value back for those 1/4 of those 3
You
dump
are
trucks.
getting a fair market value back. Look at the
No,
bottom of
I'm
the
not. I'm getting
sheet.
nothing.
You get $73,000 back. You're 1/4. All of that asset sale is
We're all
$300,000.
taking a truck and that's a wash.
Do what?
We're all taking a truck and a trailer and that's a wash.
No, it's not a wash. There's
You
2
can't-
trucks
And
and
one thing-
one trailer.
This is one thing I brought up when they were looking at this. I said,
Keep it
that I
on
did-
precinct 5.
would you let me finish talking? The trucks are valued at different amounts because they're different year models. Here's what I didn't want to do, and I'll tell you right now, this is my biggest deal. I didn't want to draw straws and end up with a 21 model, and you drew straws and ended up with a 25 model. I don't think that's fair to anybody here. I think putting a value on all the equipment and dispersing it is a better plan, but because I don't want to, any precinct shouldn't be put out because they didn't draw right and they lose $100,000 on one truck.
Well, I wanted them to get what they wanted.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If you would rather have dump trucks, then take dump trucks.
I don't
Doesn't
want
matter.
a dump truck.
No, that's what Leon told Jack. He didn't want a dump truck. He
So
wanted
y'all
the
are
new
all
truck.
getting a dump truck for free, it seems.
No, they're paying.
Mark,
You-
look
you
at the,
took my-
you've got to
you
read the
took-
I'm paying
spreadsheet, bud.
$197,000 for a dump truck.
Jeff, would you walk through the spreadsheet, each column, kind of what it's
Yeah, so
delineated?
the little chart at the bottom shows the value of what the used equipment would be. A $75,000 tractor, a $100,000 dump truck, a $35,000 belly dump trailer, for a total of $210,000. So I applied that credit to everyone. Then I applied the type of truck they got against that credit. We gave $173,840 for the new road tractors, and we gave $197,50, nearly $200,000 for a dump truck. And then the trailers, since they were all, we just valued them straight across the board at $35. It cost us about $50 to buy one today. And so that gave everybody a different total of what they came up with using a $210,000 applied credit. It didn't matter if I used $100,000, it would just make the total bigger at the end. But we applied the credits based on what we felt like that equipment would bring. And that's how we end up with the values we got at the end of the spreadsheet there.
Well, I get assigned a $100,000 more truck that just out of the blue that I didn't ask for.
Well, I mean, you can certainly, you don't have to take that new road tractor. You can use a 2021. Barry will gladly take the new tractor. Is that what you want to do?
Well, I thought we were drawing for them, and you said we did, but we didn't. We did not draw
I
for
asked
them.
Jack to coordinate with all the foremen to make sure they got what they wanted.
That's not.
No, drawing for them is kind of a silly way to do it, but because we don't have 4 dump trucks.
You don't have
So
4 that
somebody's gonna draw one that didn't need one, like you.
Well, we'd already discussed, y'all take the dump trucks, I didn't need one.
Well, but how do you fix that? You gotta draw for it anyway.
You just said you
No,
wanted a dump truck.
the road trucks. The road truck, I don't
Judge
need a dump
Man?
truck.
Yeah, please.
So, because, he gave me his,
Okay.
I got you, Commissioner, thank you though. So, because of the way that the road tractors and the dump trucks have differentiating numbers, is the credit not then skewed for the amount of the tractor and the dump truck, since some of them are valued much higher than the others?
So in other words, if right now precinct 2 has the higher dollar road tractor and they're giving that back, they should be credited accordingly.
Right. Or at least a better average of that total credit, yeah, across the precincts.
Because if one precinct has both new equipment that they're putting back into precinct 5, this credit doesn't reflect it because it's across the board the
Right.
same.
I'm not following you, man.
So on the road tractor, you have a 75,000 credit for each precinct, right?
Correct.
But on 2 of the precincts, they're going to be charged the 173,840.
Correct.
So
But
what
I
I'm-
get to apply the 75 against it.
Right. But I'm saying that because some of the precincts are getting just the 75,000, then shouldn't that average be a little bit more in value to better reflect the credit? Does that make sense?
My piggybacking off that would be, right now, those 2 new tractors, which precincts have? Sorry, that you are giving to precinct 5?
No, we're not giving anything to
taking it
precinct
all
5,
out.
we're taking it
from
away
precinct
from
5.
precinct 5.
Right.
But the $210,000 credit, make sure I'm understanding this right, is the amount that each of the precincts would have technically contributed to precinct 5.
Well, right now.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we took-
if we sold it today,
Right.
if we sold it today and split it all up, 210 before any new trucks were applied would be what it would be.
That was before the new trucks were applied.
Yes, before the new trucks were applied.
And that's why I'm saying the average for the tractor and the dump truck need to come up a little bit on the total credit to kind of offset that.
Yeah, but we're splitting it all out again when we get to the end.
Yeah.
We're cutting it in force and giving it back to everybody. We're not gonna leave it in precinct 5.
Right. But you're only giving $75,000 for 2 precincts that are, it basically washes it out. And then you have 2 precincts that are gonna eat the $173,000. So they have an additional $100,000 in expense that they're gonna incur.
Yeah, because what I would do if I got an old one would trade it in immediately,
Yeah.
which is just gonna cost me more next year.
Yeah.
And so that's, I'm still lagging behind understanding.
I think I am too, so we're in the same boat together.
I think
Something
that,
happened without my knowledge, without Leon's knowledge. We were delivered a truck that we didn't buy.
No, you went and picked it up at Bruckner Mac.
We were delivered a truck and
Leon took the title and the folder to Brenda at the auditor's office. That's who called me.
because it was delivered to our doorstep. I didn't know anything about it. He called me and said, "Why don't we have a new truck?"
I don't know, I didn't order one.
Well, Mark, just take all this and fix it the way you think it should be fixed. And I'm not griping about whether a 25 model road tractor or a 2021 could care less. So just fix it and do it the way you want to do it. Is that good enough? Would that satisfy you? Because having a hissy fit about it is just ridiculous to me.
I have a quick question for Matt. Matt, on those dump trucks, those 197.5s, how old are those?
I think those are the 2024s.
Is that what we gave for them, 197.5?
I don't recall.
197,500, yes.
That's what we gave a piece for them?
Correct.
In 24?
No, we're getting them now.
Oh, okay, so they're brand new.
They're brand new.
So, and the only reason I'm asking that is, I don't disagree with that 210,000. I mean, I don't know that that's the right amount. And the reason I say that, it might very well be the right amount. You took how many pieces of equipment and totaled the value of them?
3.
You took 4 road tractors.
Well, no, what I did was took the value of a road tractor, the value of a dump truck, and the value of a trailer, all of which I knew I could get for our old stuff on Purple Wave for.
But what I'm getting at is, you know, you put your tractor, your dump truck, and your trailer values there. How many tractors does that include?
Well,
2?
Well, there's 4.
There's 4 road tractors.
But is that what you did, was took the 4?
No, I took 1. I took 1 dump truck, 1 road tractor, and 1 trailer and came up with 210,000.
Of the value. And that's why I was saying that the amount of the credit is undervalued, because you have 2 brand new dump trucks that are at a higher value.
It seems like you would have took a total of all equipment and put a value beside it, and then that's what the whole fleet is worth.
I could if I didn't have a total out on the end of the spreadsheet.
Yeah, that would take that. That would
take the value away from it.
No. I'm not worried about that yet. I'm just saying, if you have, let's say we have 12 pieces of equipment that were in precinct 5. If you took the total value of those 12 pieces and it came to $900,000 and we divide it by 4, you got $900,000. And then you pick your equipment that you're getting at the value that it has, and you can select it like you did in this. I don't disagree with doing that, because once you have a total of all your pieces, then you divide it. I think that would.
But you don't want to give because we got new stuff, we should have to pay more of a premium for the new.
I agree. I'm agreeing with that.
The credit column is the question of what that number is.
And the only reason I say that about the credit is because I think we need to know exactly how many pieces. I agree with the way you valued everything, and I agree with the credit and everything. I just don't know that, in all fairness, what Mark's saying is maybe he doesn't really think, maybe he don't believe that there was a $210,000 credit there, or maybe it should be more, I don't know. But I don't disagree, because if all you're doing is figuring 1 tractor, 1 dump truck, and 1 trailer, I think we need to take a total combined of the whole lot.
Well, just do that quickly, Matthew.
I think we had two new ones, right?
I'm still not following that math.
It should be the same.
It would be the same.
And it might be. I'm just looking at something.
The end column out there is what balances it.
That's going to take searching all the general ledger and coming up with that spreadsheet.
Well, no, we're using our values because these are auction values.
Yeah,
right now, we have 2 new road tractors. We have 2 used road tractors. Right now, we know that that's full.
The deal.
Yeah, but Barry shouldn't have to pay for any of my new stuff.
I don't disagree, and that's still what I'm going at.
Yeah.
How many dump trucks do we have?
We have
3
dump trucks.
There's 3.
Yeah.
And
2 new ones and a used one.
And I don't know that those are still worth $197,500.
Well, that's a whole other discussion. I agree
Just
with you.
because they're 6 months old, they're
Well,
what?
I know, but that we don't want to cheat ourselves because we're the benefactor of
that's
the
what they call us.
benefit.
Yeah, but that
we paid it.
That one is selling right now. So right now you have 4 road tractors, you have 2 dump trucks, and then a 3rd dump truck, and then you have how many trailers?
Well,
4.
yeah,
trailers.
but to be clear, we have 6 road tractors. We're going to sell 2. of the oldest ones, the 2020 and the oldest or the highest mileage 2021.
Did you agree with that?
And
Road
also
tractor,
pull
road
them
tractor,
back
road
into
tractor,
the
road
mix.
tractor, 3 dump trucks,
So
4 trailers.
Commissioner Beecham will get 74,000 back because of his negative 1,100 and then the
Correct.
73,000.
Correct.
Commissioner Muller will get 73,000 back.
Mark will get the value of a dump truck.
Right. Okay.
In this, if you total all these up, then that should be your
Well, you don't throw a few
Divide that
patrol
by 4.
cars in here?
Oh, no, I have a headache, I gotta go in some different directions.
We got room on the
173,
list here.
840.
So, again, I apologize, I feel like I'm behind the curve here. This credit right here doesn't reflect the auction of anything yet, because it
No.
hasn't happened.
No.
That will be-
It's just a value assessed to the
Assessed
used
that.
equipment.
Yeah.
Based on, okay,
And it's
To the
pretty
used
good
equipment.
because we've had enough local sales
Yeah.
that we've got a pretty
Okay.
good idea where
Right.
it's gonna vary a few thousand, but it's in the ballpark.
But that's
But-
your problem is you're also talking about new equipment as well.
You know.
And so
680.
is the credit enough or is it not enough? You know what I mean?
divided by 4.
So everything on
That's
this. everything on this
283.
list-
If you take up everything we have right now, it's 1.132680 divided by 4 is going to be 283,170.
But if you divide that, Mick, because of what we're off between new and used, you're gonna have to compensate, get compensated for equipment that are you gonna have to help compensate for equipment
Well,
you
and
didn't
I'm-
Which is what the-
receive?
And I'm
which is what the
not
last
saying that
column
you're,
does.
I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong or just wrong. I'm just trying to, that's taking all the equipment and putting a value on it. It's 283,000. I just want to see kind of where those line items run into if we
When
get it
it-
like we have it.
When it's all said and done and we sell the 2 road tractors, that's another 150, so that's about $450,000 roughly, I'm rounding. But $450,000 worth of equipment that'll come back and be split 4 ways in precinct, that'll come back to precinct 5 and then be split 4 ways.
We're gaining the value of that.
We're getting
asset.
112.50 apiece.
Right.
That's roughly what it amounts to. And we won't have any equipment in precinct 5
Precinct
road
3 is
wise.
gonna gain value of 210,000.
Correct. Plus the value of your, so you got 100, what you ended up with is 112,000 apiece, plus your $210,000 asset, less what you paid.
See, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not, I mean, this is not the first time that I had actually seen this document, and I didn't know how he come up with the credit. So, but this right here makes sense to me, and I don't mind divvying the property up with the value assessed to it. So I just didn't know on that 197,000, but I'm still gonna figure mine
Well,
across the
and
board.
back to the drawing, and I think we talked about that a few weeks ago, that would be the way to do it, is draw. But really and truly, we've accomplished the same thing because we've given credits back. If I wanna take the used truck that I've got for 100,000, trade it next week, I can.
Well, sure, and you just
Yeah.
be out your own.
You'd be out your own money. So, I mean, the value that, I'm getting 2 used trucks, but I've been compensated for that,
Sure.
for that price. I mean, it
Sure,
was-
and you can take the value of what we're gonna receive, that 110, Barry, and apply it if you wanted to trade up, and then you'd be back into.
so,
So Mark, do you not want a new road tractor? I mean, is that?
It really makes no never mind to me. Apparently
Well, I
I've
mean,
got
I
one,
just-
I'm stuck with it, so.
No, you're
well,
not.
no, that's
No.
what we're talking about
No,
today.
not at all.
Because you really only need to draw if you end up with three
What
people
you don't
wanting two
want.
tractors.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this took the place of the selection deal. This evened it up.
And that,
It wouldn't be fair for one precinct to have all brand new equipment, everybody else drawing used equipment, and everybody, you know, that's not the way it's done, and that's not the way this is done, so.
well, the only one that bought two new would be Jeff.
Precinct 4. And he's paying nearly $200,000.
Which you were gonna do anyway.
Right. I don't think we would I think if we throwed everything to the wind and sold it, I don't think we'd do as good as what we're doing on paper here.
You may be right. Actually, I think that road tractor market's a little softer than what it was. Just
The market is right now.
there's a bunch of them sitting around, I know.
Yeah, and I just knew what we had given for those.
But it's a decent number. I mean, it's
Right.
from what we've got to work on.
But I'm not opposed if you want to come up to a better plan, better idea. If you want to work on it,
You
come
wanna
on.
work on
We
it,
can wait.
Matt, and-
We ain't no pressure, no bind.
No?
Well, since I haven't had a chance to digest this.
Well, that makes a difference.
And we got, again,
We're not.
I got delivered a truck that I had no knowledge of being delivered a truck. Neither did Leon. He called me, why am I getting a truck? I don't know. How do you want me to tag it? I said, we haven't decided where these trucks are going yet. Tag it precinct 5.
And some of those trucks I gave y'all, those folders of how that is, are just in Wichita County, and you won't have to retag those. But if they're specific to precinct 5, you would. And you don't have to unless we're gonna sell them, and then we need to fix them probably, but we don't even have to do that. We can sell them as.
You could sell them as precinct 5.
But
You
the
We
would-
can sell them
plan
as
is
precinct 5 and give you the money.
We're still gonna run them together when we're hauling gravel.
Yeah.
Right,
You know, we're still gonna run our dump trucks together when we're chip sealing.
right,
I mean, it's gonna be pretty much business as usual. This is more of an accounting deal
Right.
than
Yeah.
anything.
I agree with that. It's an accounting deal.
but me and Leon will need to put wet kits on our trucks because of trailers that we've got that, we pull both a hydraulic tail trailer and then a
We do.
dozer trailer. And Mark's got the same thing.
Yeah.
Sounds like might appreciate another week to digest the
Yeah, we-
information.
Yeah, I'd
or
like to
think
have
it
a
through.
week, just to
Okay.
Yeah, we're
understand
not in any hurry.
what's
to
going
do it,
on.
but I understand it a whole lot better with this
I-
sheet than I did.
I would have liked to have been included in on how we distributed trucks though, before it got distributed.
Bad thing is and
It just
without
hap-
anybody getting mad, we're not allowed to discuss those outside
No,
here,
I know,
so.
but we just made decisions without including the commissioner that's gonna be
Paying.
on the recipient and paying for it. I mean, that's not, this is where we make the decisions. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. We can't talk to each other outside of this. But that's why I put it on the agenda, so we can make the decisions, not make the decisions 2 weeks before it comes on the agenda. That's where I'm upset. This has happened to me over and over with my equipment. Decisions were made on my equipment by someone else besides me, and it's cost me time and time and time again. And I've been playing catch-up for 8 years because of other people's decisions on my behalf.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of it.
We'll take no action on this, bring it up again next week, Morgan, if you'll go ahead and place it on there. And go from there. All right, that brings us to item 11. Receive update on courthouse renovations and county courthouse annexes. Commissioner Beecham?
Well, 30th is complete. Well, now we got punch list on 3 different projects we're trying to complete. A lot of movement at Iowa Park, particularly with AT&T and stuff that we've been trying to still work around and trying to deal with all of that. So that's moving. Waiting on a quote to do the similar door locks and cameras at Iowa Park that we doing in the courthouse. Really would like to have the same keyway that we're doing here. Still waiting on that though. That's pretty much.
Digi's working, Digital Security Systems or whatever is working on the quote for that.
Yeah.
Same folks.
Mhm.
Judge, I'd just like to say that I thought that the opening of the new courtroom was tremendous. We
Yep.
had some really good compliments from people. You know, compliments are great, but from some people, they mean more than others. And there were some
Everybody
people
enjoyed
that
it.
really thought that was a move in the right direction. And Mark, I want to thank you for.
Well, it's all of you got, it wouldn't happen without every one of us.
Well,
And-
it
and
was well,
see
it was
the-
well done. And once again, I had some compliments from a couple of people that really made a difference.
Yeah.
You know, that they could see the direction that we're headed, and it really was, it was a special day. It really was.
I appreciate the court having a vision to take care of our properties now, like they should be.
We don't get to celebrate and be proud of a lot of things a lot of time. And
This
it was a
one's,
good
this
day
one's
for
one
that.
we should all celebrate.
And the umbrella was a hit. You did.
That was a last minute thought,
It
so.
was, well,
Let's
well
hope
done.
it's not necessary.
Well done, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Anything else on? And court is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.